Gallagher from America. This is about the ONWARD Project launch. We'll be getting started in just one moment as people join us. Thanks so much for your patience. ONWARD data project to help faith-based leaders engage their communities around one of the most pressing issues today. My name is Gallagher, and I am the Director of Nonprofit Programs for Welcoming America. America is a national nonprofit that helps communities across the country reach their full potential by becoming more welcoming to immigrants and refugees. Today, Fabio, Lomelino of the Immigration and Refugee Service, and our driver of Active Voice. To start off, we'd get to know a bit more about you. Please hold that should be popping up on the right hand of your screen. Coming from religious organization, nonprofit, immigrant serving, or another nonprofit, business, government, educational individual, or just interested person of the world. Thanks again for joining us, and this will help us tailor our remarks to you and best serve you. While you poll, housekeeping items. This is being recorded. Due to the number of callers, all participants will be on mute. To ask a question, please use the Q&A box on the right-hand corner of your screen and address questions to all panelists. At the end of the webinar, a survey will pop up. Please help out by filling it out. In today's webinar, you will learn about the films, stories, and resources ONWARD has to offer and how you can integrate them into your work. Welcoming America is especially pleased to be hosting this webinar because film has been a core part of how we shift attitudes and perceptions ever since we started working with Active Voice on this to Shelbyville several years ago. Bill essentially tells the origin story of Welcoming America in Tennessee. A story and documentary that we hope to utilize if you haven't done so already. Big success we and our local partners had with Welcome to Shelbyville, even more excited about this new project ONWARD. We can transform perspectives and shift attitudes in ways that data never will. Set the heart and the mind, and this project will help you find the right short video or film in your context, as discussion and facilitation tips to ensure that the ways people's hearts were touched beyond your event. You will see this project is targeted towards communities of faith, but we believe there are tools here that will work for everyone. Introduce Fabio Lomelino of LIRS. LIRS is our co-host for this exciting launch today of the ONWARD Project.
Thank you, and to everybody. My name is Fabio Lomelino. I'm a community education facilitator at Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service. I'd like to extend a special welcome to those who are joining us from the LIRS network of partners, churches, and allies. I'm really excited about how the ONWARD platform is especially helpful for faith communities, as a lot of these human stories have very powerful spiritual and religious themes within them. This is really focused these days on empowering our local partners and churches as former migrants and refugees with innovative resources that can help them be leaders in their communities. And ONWARD is exactly that kind of resource. It's really going to help our members engage the communities in dialogue that leads to really powerful learning and transformation. We know it's going to prepare folks to work not just in create welcoming communities, but also advocating and strengthening the need to protect vulnerable migrant populations. We have a need to respond to the presence of immigrants as our new neighbors, and also to encourage folks to volunteer in resettlement, to help protect and reconnect unaccompanied immigrant children in this country, and also to inspire them to visit immigrants in detention. Although most of our work does focus mostly on the protection of vulnerable immigrants, our ultimate mission is to create welcoming communities, and this kind of resource really can help us inspire folks to see that what we like to call sometimes the long welcome, the work of creating welcoming communities. I think storytelling is at the heart of creating those welcoming communities because it opens our hearts, it opens our minds, it helps us build relationships, and ultimately weave the fabric of community as we welcome newcomers. So to kick us off, I'd like to invite Sahar Driver, Program Director at Active Voice, who's really the fire behind this exciting new tool, and she's going to be helping us kick off our discussion today.
So, hi everyone, and I also want to thank you for joining. We're so excited to tell you about ONWARD, which is a new platform that Active Voice has developed to help all of you boost your efforts to deepen understanding about immigration, and to activate and expand the welcoming and other related work that you are all doing. With a team of strategists based in San Francisco that specializes in using documentary narrative film to support social change. We work with films that address all sorts of issues, but over the last 15 years, a consistent focus of our work has been related to immigrants and immigration, always responding to what we're hearing people need the most. And an example of that is Welcome to Shelbyville, which Ellen was telling you about just briefly a moment ago. The kinds of films that we're always looking for, in terms of immigration, it's ranged from films that put a human face to demographic changes and tensions that both newcomers and long-term residents are feeling, to inspiring stories about what happens when community members come together to make their city or town a more welcoming place for newcomers. And this latest initiative within that legacy is an attempt to pair strong, human-centered stories with data and scripture to help everyday people, communities, and church leaders push past the misinformation that can circulate and really move the national discourse on immigration forward. Before too far into describing what we've produced, I want to tell you a little bit about what you can expect on this presentation today. Telling you a little bit more about our vision for ONWARD here in just a moment. I'll explain a bit about why we've put in the ground around film and story for all of these years. I'll give you a tour of the platform itself and show you what you can find in there. And then I'll hand it back over to Fabio and Ellen, as well as Kieran Bone, who's joining us on the call as well from Welcoming America, who will share some of the meaningful ways that Welcoming America and Lutheran Immigrant and Refugee Service have respectively used film to advance their work in the past. So you have some ideas to work with. And then we'll open it up for questions. I encourage you to post your questions in the chat box as we go. We'll be collecting them so that we can respond to them all. And by releasing a brand new short film adapted from the upcoming documentary Care by Deirdre Fishel and Tony Hariza. The short film is called Vilma and Dee's Story, and you all are going to be the first that gets to see it. And we'll be sending you the URL right at the end of the call, at the end of the presentation, so you can immediately go check it out. We're really excited to offer you this opportunity here. So what you're looking at right now is the page for the ONWARD platform, and we'll be sending you the link here very shortly so that after the presentation you can dig around in here and see a bunch of really good stuff. We're launching it today. It's the result of years of research and the efforts of our advisors who are experts in policy, in each of the issues that we've narrowed in on, experts in grassroots engagement, messaging and framing, on scripture, online and offline strategy, and much more. So we're really, really excited. At this point, you might be wondering why an initiative geared around pairing story and data. The thing that we have really been looking at is that currently people have two primary sources of information about immigration. First, they work, employ, study with, or do business with someone who has come from another country. Second, they consume television, news, and social media about controversies surrounding our laws and borders and more. But people don't get the opportunity to pause and reflect on their own lives, connect the dots between their own personal experience of immigrants and immigration-related issues, or to compare it to what they hear from other sources. As you'll see, this is designed to support conversations that connect the stories and data to scripture, wherever that might be useful. This is because ONWARD also hopes to create opportunities for everyday people to reflect on these issues in a meaningful way, connect those dots, and stimulate conversations that lead to deeper, more humane, and better informed understanding of immigrants today. Leaders and congregants are aware of the damage caused by separating families or shutting down young immigrants' hopes of going to college, and are making the connection between the Bible's references to welcome thy neighbor and our outdated immigration system. So by bringing solid data and powerful stories that people from varied denominations can relate to, we hope to focus our attention on steps that we can all take toward a more inclusive and prosperous set of communities throughout the country. So just a little bit of background on why, what prompted ONWARD. But also want to share a few bits about why we've spent so much time thinking about film and the value that story in general adds to our lives. We're made up of stories. We relate to people and the world around us through story. We're moved by stories, and character-driven film in particular helps us to connect with other people near or far. And this is because whether you're in a theater, a classroom, a church, a living room, film helps to create a shared context, a common experience from which viewers and with their experiences can begin a conversation. Of people's lives, film can reveal the human implications of policies and social issues that can really too often get abstracted in headlines or in research, making it difficult to understand or relate to what it really means. People across the board have values that transcend simple right and left, or red and blue, or urban and rural polarizations. A good character-driven film can help viewers identify with the struggles and triumphs of others that they might not have known they could actually relate to. And it does this by giving them an opportunity to walk in their shoes. Another thing about film is that filmmakers often stay with a story long enough to capture personal and institutional transformation in the making, which can be so helpful to viewers who gain perspective and get the opportunity to witness that change is possible. Finally, probably it's the most obvious of them all, vivid, character-driven stories can open up new thinking. It inspires people to tell their own stories, to share their own ideas, and even to take action. So they're all reasons why we have really put a lot of effort around thinking about story and up with strong strategies for getting them into the hands of people like you who could really benefit from them. Again, this is the homepage of the site that's going up. I wanted to take a few minutes now to walk you through the whole thing, not every page, but the kinds of pages that you could find there, so that you have a sense of we've put together here to make it possible for you to incorporate story into your existing work. On this homepage, we've highlighted a number of prevalent themes in immigration today. I'm going to pull up another slide here so it's a little bit easier to read. These are the themes that are featured: supporting immigrant families, detention and deportation, immigrant youth, welcoming the stranger, and the contributions that immigrants bring to communities and the U.S. at large. When you click on any of the themes, a page like this will pop up. It's a page dedicated to that theme or that issue. You'll see in the lower left-hand corner the Did You Know box. That is a snapshot of national data that helps to orient you to the issue and why it matters. Each of the themes that you click on will have one of these in it. So it's a really useful way to help you either introduce the film if you're going to be showing it, or to just get yourself familiarized with the before it gets started. You'll also see a selection of films on the site that address those issues. And here, I don't know if you can read them, but we'll be going through them in a minute. There's Care, and this is the film that when you click on it, Vilma and Dee's story will show up, and that's the one that we're premiering. And next to that is a film by Theo Rigby called The Caretaker. And so each of the issues will have a set of stories or a set of films associated with them that speak to that issue. On the right-hand side, you'll see the What You Can Do document. The valuable ways to get involved, but it also includes resources to help you understand how the story and data, can local level. So I'm going to show you what these look like. This is the document that was on the left-hand side. As you can see, there are a number of valuable statistics and just some context about immigrant contributions, generally speaking. This is the saw to the right of the screen on the bottom, what you can do, and as you can see there, the more at the bottom has some tailored local they can read up about, and then the take action document thing. These are they're not. There's suggestions, and you should expand. You should feel free to expand on these. We have lots of tips in the discussion guide that help you to think about ways that you can connect these stories to your work beyond this, of course. Another example, the detention and deportation. This is another example of an issue that is featured on the site and what that page looks like. And another example of the snapshot of data and statistics that are available there. Another example of the actions that are available and suggested there. So just to give you a taste of what you can find there, we have so many beautiful films featured on the site. I'm so excited to get them into your hands. Underwater Dreams is a film by Mary Mazzio. The version of the film that we have on our site is 44 minutes, so it's a shortened version of the feature film available here on ONWARD, and it's about a group of young high school kids who in the desert and have a dream to start an underwater robotics competition and do so against all odds, and go to MIT to compete in a college-level robotics championship competition and win. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful story. case story, this is the one that is premiering. The online premiere is here on Onward today, and we will be getting you this shortly. This is a film, as I mentioned before, by Deirdre Fishel and Tony Riza, a beautiful story about a caretaker, a home care worker, and her elderly client, and the relationship that they formed together. How part of the Shelbyville Multimedia Project. It was adapted from Welcome Shelbyville by Kim Snyder, and is something that Gallagher had mentioned at the top of this presentation today. There's a whole website related to this, but we'll be uploading really valuable documents and other resources and tools that you can use associated with this. But it's a beautiful film about who's featured here, a Somali woman, former nurse that is now working at a meatpacking plant in the town of Shelbyville, Tennessee. And it's also about the community of people around her who come together and work with her to create a much more welcoming community there. By Theo Rigby is part of a series that he's called Immigrant Nation. The Mayor is another film that's coming soon as part of that series, and we'll be featuring that on the platform as well. But that's not up quite yet. The Caretaker is another beautiful film about a caretaker who is caring for aging client at the end of her life, and is a really important glimpse into relationship and the real value that someone like her brings to the communities where she is, and to this population in particular. Film actually by Theo Rigby about the Mejias, a family that came to the United States from Guatemala because of the strife there and violence there, and it's the story of their family really getting torn apart and their struggle to stay together. So it's a beautiful film. I highly recommend this one as well. And another we're featuring, this is also a film that is coming soon, but we have exclusive access to 3 clips that are really powerful, very short. They're 2 to 5 minutes each, very easy to incorporate into meetings or Bible studies or things, also about families that have been separated by policies and the attempts of those families to really father and stay together. Now that I've told you about each of these films live on different issue pages that they speak to. Some of the films you'll find on different pages because they really address a number of different themes. Indivisible is here. This is what the page will look like when you click on it. And as you can see here, I mentioned before that there are 3 clips available. The 3 clips are right here: Antonio lighting a candle, Renata and her mom at the fence, a Thanksgiving with the family. So each of these, like I said, are 2 to 5 minutes. They're also a guide, which I'm about to pull up right here, for each film that we feature. And the discussion guide is to come up with some really creative ideas for how to use the film. And this page gives you an example of what you might find in terms of stimulating some ideas within you and your community for where you might fit it in. We also have tips if you need them. Some of you I know are seasoned facilitators and might not need them, but to really help you think depending on who your audience is, if it's a sensitive conversation in that within the community then you're paying attention to how to keep it safe and careful and productive. We have a number of discussion prompts throughout the guide as well to just have a deliberate conversation. And we actually have curated even more data for each film is specific to scenes and moments in that film that might raise questions about, about the issues. And so we've to think ahead about what some of those questions might be, and we did research to find really well-reputed sources that have done research on those issues and provide you with context information. I mentioned before, we've also connected each story with scriptural references that you can use in church or in other contexts where you feel it can really deepen understanding and connections between the story and faith. This is an example of an event planning checklist, so all kinds of really good tools to help you ensure, if you need them, to help you pick and choose everything that you need to have a really successful conversation. These could be small, intimate gatherings, large public events. It's up to you. We want this to be as flexible and useful and customizable as possible. From the films that I mentioned, we have a number also coming soon. These are some examples that Ai-jen Poo's The Age of Dignity, Preparing for the Elder Care Boom in a Changing America. This is a book that is just out now. She's just completed her initial tour and will be pulling that together and onto the site so that it can be featured in clubs. So as you can see, we're really thinking about this, the use of story in a multimedia kind of way. We have The Visitor is an older film, but such a powerful feature film by Thomas McCarthy. I mentioned already that The Mayor by Theo Rigby will be coming up. And we're going to have a lot of articles, audio selections from StoryCorps and other places, and much, much more. Pass this back to you, Ellen, so that you can talk a little bit about your experience using story.
So much, Sahar. As I hope everybody could see, this is such an exciting project with just so many tools and so much potential, really adaptable for what works for each of us. I've had the pleasure of viewing a few trailers and previews for films you talked about, and they're good. And I'm so excited for others to see them as well. I got particularly excited when you mentioned Underwater Dreams. I think that's such a cool story that I think probably a lot of us have about, but it's so exciting to have a way to share that through film. And thanks for creating this tool and sharing it with the world. I'm excited about it, and I think, as you exactly said, the story and the data together with all of your facilitation tips and discussion tips, it's just, possibilities are pretty much endless. So thank you so much for that. And before I go into sharing about how we've seen story used in Welcoming America, I just wanted to let you guys know that there were the results of the first poll we had. You got on the phone, you're about half religious organizations and about half immigrant serving nonprofits. So thanks for letting us know, and hopefully it can help you understand who we're sharing this all with for the very first time and for this film premiere that we'll be having at the end. Just a reminder as we go, I want to ask a question to us. Go to the chat box and just send to all panelists and type your questions for us, and we're going to be answering your questions in just a little bit. And finally, that chat box is also where we will be sharing that link for the premiere of the film. So it's aside up top, it says participants, and then chat, and then Q&A, and the book it will show each of those boxes. So just make sure that chat is in blue, and they can see it. So to talk about film and welcoming America, you know, that it's just really such, not only film, but really story. It's just really such a powerful tool. What I always say is that when we use just data, it bounces off people's heads, right? So they already know that and they've already made up their minds. That's not what's going to change them. What changes people is getting to their hearts, just as Fabio said. And it's through story that we get to people's hearts, and that we really open their hearts, and that way we open their mind. Shelbyville Multimedia, our part has been able to show not just the whole film, but the shorter parts. So using the clip that we've shown here, groups across the country use that to actually host welcoming dinners for Thanksgiving. The meals and their stories in their homes with new neighbors. So this short film clip actually inspired people to reach out in their community and make new connections and really change perspectives of themselves and get to know people. And that's truly transformative for a community, and we do that bit by bit through people. And that was all inspired through film, and it's the real power of it. And partners have used films in many contexts. And really it's thinking about what's your context and what works for you, right? So does your group naturally gather in the living room? Do they like to more hear experts up on stage, or do they like to gather over food? Of course, living rooms and food, but it's what works for you all. Thinking about that and thinking about these pieces, what works for you, right? So those readings that Sahar said that are shorter pieces or a longer film. And anyway, each one has worked for the context and the audience that our partners have worked with. One powerful example is with a local politician who came to an event where Welcome to Shelbyville shown. Before the event, he'd been a sponsor of some nasty anti-immigrant bills. After the event, sure that he'd actually changed his mind on this matter and was going to change his actions. So that's one of dozens of stories of people being transformed by seeing just through our network. Hear about the power of film and story that you found in your network. Oh, there you go.
I just unmuted myself. Thank you, Ellen.
No worries. Sure.
I'm really excited about this platform because I'm a big fan of storytelling, and I've had multiple experiences of how storytelling opens our hearts and our minds to the possibility, especially in faith context, of the promise that we find in the Bible that in the Hebrews speaks of the promise we show hospitality to strangers, we might be entertaining and hosting angels among us without knowing it. Because I look at some of the stories that are up on the ONWARD platform, these short little clips that give you a brief window into these human stories of people who are human beings first and immigrants second. And I really do see that promise that they are angels in the sense of angels that are here to cut through the rhetoric and the fear through their human stories and give us a glimpse of the divine that lives with each and every one of them and join into our communities. I think that storytelling is actually the center of all sort of our community engagement. In the years we've been figuring out new and different ways to weave personal, communal, and biblical storytelling together in a way that creates a new story. So we don't just tell stories, but engage in very intentional dialogue to process that story, connect it to our story, connect it to God's story, and see sort of what emerges at the other end of that dialogue. And it's been really transformational. So about stories, I don't want to just talk about it. I want to tell you a story. So I'm going to tell you a story of a time that I met with a group of Lutherans in Atlanta, Georgia. It was two different congregations, actually several congregations, but from two different Lutheran denominations who don't see eye to eye on everything, right? They had a split recently because they diverged on theological matters. But through the courage of a local partner, we brought together these two different groups for a joint dialogue on immigration. And it was really fascinating because it was a half day of storytelling, of several different types of storytelling. We had storytelling from immigrants and refugees who shared their experience. We watched several video clips, including one from Welcome to Shelbyville, which was very powerful. And this, I think, was key. We encouraged participants to share their own stories. They're connected to their own personal experience of being welcomed or not welcomed into spaces. So we end with this question, right, as we were looking through all these stories. As we discussed through several rounds of small group conversation, what happens when strangers become neighbors? And after intense conversation and several different rounds of storytelling, where it ended in our dialogue was actually the opposite. We had to realize the question we needed to start asking ourselves was what happens when neighbors become strangers. What we discovered in our dialogue together was the split in the faith community and different sort of splits within the community at large was creating sort of a fear of the newcomer that was tied to the unraveling of the community's own fabric, and that our neighbors become strangers. And that would make it harder for us to welcome the newcomer. What was that the stranger was, in fact, a messenger, an angel, as it's promised in Scripture, that is allowing us to reinvest in the health of our community. And what was alive as we listened to those stories was how the immigrant community was bonding together and staying strong in the face of hardship and exclusion. And behind the fear of the newcomer, many of the participants in the conversation were driving a longing for that kind of community and strength their own personal lives. Experiences like this has helped me to realize that storytelling with some really intentional conversation and that people can connect it to their own personal experience has really transformational power. And see, what stories do, from my point as a facilitator, is it gives, as Sahar mentioned right at the top of our webinar, a common language with which to explore a very difficult issue. They ground the conversation. So every time I use a story as a facilitator, I see the group as I walk from table to table in their small groups, referencing the story, referencing the characters, unpacking specific plot points. And this becomes a shared experience. It becomes a common language. It becomes a shared narrative that they can connect to their own experience personally and as a community. And that way, they're not throwing talking points at each other or speaking about generalities. They're really grounded in reality, in a sense. And then we can pair together that with some data, with some policy, but it's grounded in reality through real stories. So at LS, we're really interested in platforms like ONWARD because they really empower local leaders to feel confident in having what are some difficult conversations. And the role that we would like to play in helping use this platform is to be thought partners on how to use it for community. We've had experience traveling around the country doing this, and so we see ourselves as thought partners to think through the facilitation, to pick through these different clips, to tailor something that's really going to make the content in your community, in your context, in your specific narrative come alive. And ultimately, we see these kinds of conversations, these kinds of dialogues, as a mean to an end, but also an end in itself. I often receive feedback in some of these community conversations that we've hosted that they become kind of a microcosm for the welcoming community that we envision. They have a diversity of participants engaging with each other across boundaries. It's tense, but it's honest and productive. And so I really encourage you to once this webinar is over, look at the ONWARD platform. What's really exciting about a lot of these films is that they've either been cut into clips or re-edited completely into short versions that really lend themselves to really good dialogue. I think when we can pair not just stories and data together, but then to process all of it through facilitated dialogue, through honest and deep conversations, we can really transform our own communities. Of course, they are also really good for achieving our ends as organizations and as professionals. I think they'll be magnificent at recruiting volunteers. Especially, we have a focus now with seeing a lot of our immigrant visitation, which is also a narrative experience of visiting with people and hearing their story and sitting with them as they're in a moment of tribulation in their lives. So I encourage you to take a look at ONWARD, and Active Voice has done a magnificent job in creating this resource. And think of us as a partner can really help you get the most out of it and support you as well in the follow-up in designing some meaningful actions for your community to take a step forward in creating those welcoming communities. So pass it back to Ellen or Sahar.
Yes. Thanks so much, Fabio. You one job of not only sharing a story about the power of story, but also really clearly laying out how both your members and partners, as well as ours at Welcoming America, can use this. I can't wait to see what you do with it. So on that note, we have yet another quiz for you all. Not a quiz, a question. We're trying to make this a little bit interactive. To hear all about who you think you want to share this with. So there should be, just came here the right to your screen. So who you plan to share Onward with? And if you could let us know there, that'd be great. We'll be sharing sample ways for you to share it with, say, your social network. So please on that, and please let us know. We're excited to hear what you're thinking, and if this is anything for you, and where you want to go with it next. While you're answering that, I'm about opportunities that we see coming up to use it and share it. So next month is Immigrant Heritage Month. So that is created and run by US or Welcome.us. A whole month of activities of encouraging people to think about immigrant heritage. So really, the ONWARD Project is the perfect time to be using it and to be getting it out there. So we hope you go to onwardproject.net to check out some ideas for that. And then the other time we can really see it being useful in National Welcoming Week. So I'm going to turn it over to my own colleague at Welcoming America, Kieran Bones, to talk about Welcoming Week and what it is.
This is such a really important project, and it really is the kernel of the work of how we came up with the idea of doing a week-long celebration of the contributions of newcomers and the Brit they've made their new communities. Welcoming Week, we've been hosting it now for 3 years, and I'll just advance the slide to the next. We'll give you a little overview, but the stories that we're talking about here really promote understanding and healthy curiosity and respect between people of all ages and backgrounds. And in Week, over the past couple of years, we've been promoting conversation, volunteerism, really up local leaders during that week. It's right around National Citizenship Day, which is September 17th. And people have hosted a wide variety of events, including film screenings, dialogues, soccer tournaments, proclamations. Last year, there were over 15,000 attendees, and this year we want to make it even larger. So please check out our website at welcomingweek.org for more information, more tips and ideas of lifting up these stories like Onward and all the great films there. And we also have some toolkits on organizing events. We have a webinar coming up next on how ESOL and adult educators can have that will also lift up National Welcome Week. And if you have any questions, you can contact us at Welcome Week at welcoming.org and check out the website.
Thank you, Kieran. And I always like to note that May of Welcoming Week is Rosh Hashanah, so that can be a great time to think about some Jewish partners and also being respectful of the holiday. So it is a celebratory holiday. So thanks so much for that. And now, Sahar, how do we get access to this amazing content? I can't wait. How do we do it?
That's great. Thanks, Ellen. If you give it to the next slide, I'll show you. A lot of the content is free available online. This is on here for just a moment. Just the onwardproject.net. That is the URL for the site. So after what we're going to be done here in just a few minutes, you'll be able to go join there. but most of the content is already up and it's streaming right there. If for some reason you'd like a DVD, like your church basement or your community center or even your home doesn't have good internet then you can order a DVD. This is what the form will look like. Not every single film has a DVD available, though a lot of them do. When you're on the film page, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, one of those squares is an order form, and so you can just fill this out. It asks some basic questions to let us know if you're planning a public event, and this is important because some of the media, a lot of this is brand new, and some of the media have licensing costs associated with them. If you're planning to do a bigger public event, don't worry because Active Voice is covering the costs for those screening licenses, but on a first come first served basis. And so I want to back to this slide really quick. I encourage you to think ahead to National Welcoming Week, but also really remember I'm just going back to Immigrant Heritage Month. This is an important this happening in June, and by the time June is over, we might not have any more screening licenses available. So really think about whether or not you have a gathering or you're meeting with somebody that you think really needs to think a little bit more sensitively or strategically or deliberately about these issues. Think about screening an Onward film with them during that month of June so that we can cover the cost of that before those lenses run out. So I just wanted to say that. And the next to ask is really a thing that make this a powerful platform. We've put so much work into making this as flexible and useful as possible. As you can see, this is a platform. It's a one-stop shop where you can come to for story and data pairings, customizable print resources that all kinds of individuals and congregations can use. It's a first-time venture to connect the power of independent film, radio, and literature with the rigor of research, the art of thoughtful dialogue, scriptural references that, like I said, all together, paired together, can really help you make meaningful connections between real people and the role of immigration in America today. And so I'm really encouraging you to, about ways that you can use this during Immigrant Heritage Month for public events designed to spark action or intimate dialogues, even online previews or upload onto your site. These are all things that are possible, but just tailored to your community or organization's unique needs and desires. The reason I've kept this up so long, the sample tweets, is that all this work that we put into this, we need to make sure that it gets out to people, that people know that this resource is available. So if you could help us, and I know that they're going to post some of these URLs for the Twitter, the tweets down into the chat box, so you can click on that and just retweet some of these. If you don't use Twitter, you can post trailers that we've put on our Facebook page. Those will also get uploaded onto the chat box, so you can easily copy and paste them and use the ONWARD Project hashtag for those. That's what I've got for you right now. I'm going to hand this back over. Oh, one last thing. In May, I will be do what I'm calling virtual office hours. And what all of that means is that I am going to be hanging out online and available to answer any kind of questions that might come up. And so if you think that just down this address, onward@activevoice.net. Shoot me an email, or when you're on the site, on the upper right-hand corner, there's a place for you to sign up for updates, and I will send you the details for how you can find me online and answer, so I can answer any questions, whether it's logistical or about your strategic ideas, about using story in your community. The first one's going to be Thursday, May 28th at 3:30 p.m. PST, meaning Pacific, and 6:30 p.m. Eastern. With that, I'm going to hand it right back over to you, Ellen.
Thanks, Sahar. And I'm excited for people to go get it and to tweet and post about it and to do your virtual office hours. It's very exciting. Share with you all the results of our poll. You guys are thinking you're going to be sharing it with colleagues as well as people leading policy networks and people that are trying to increase support of immigrants and refugees. So we're engaging policy makers and we're engaging folks we know as well as people that work with immigrants and refugees and increase support for them. So that's exactly the target audience, and that's super exciting. So thanks for that and for everybody you plan to share it with. Go to some Q&A now, and we're going to try to keep our responses brief, but also, of course, answer them. So the first question is for you, Sahar. Where the name ONWARD comes from?
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did the name ONWARD come from? That's interesting. Well, I mean, I think it really gets inspired by what can sometimes feel like a very slow-moving progress, and I think it's really inspired by hoping that we see that the direction that we're moving with this discourse should remain productive and forward-moving and onward. I think it sort of nods to the idea that we should be advancing together as a society.
Exciting and makes a lot of sense. Thanks so much. And questions, don't forget you can put it in the chat box and send it all panelists. I'm going to ask Fabio a question. What has LIRS planned for ONWARD and for sharing it with your partners?
So we'll be reaching out to our partner network now that this is up and getting them to think about creatively how might they use it. We're also going to be working with a group of migrant and refugee leaders who are coming to Baltimore in June for World Refugee Day. They're going to be going through a leadership academy. Part of that leadership academy is some training on storytelling, and so we're going to be developing a group of migrant refugee leaders who will be going back to their communities as storytellers as part of a speakers bureau, but also trained to use ONWARD and host some conversations and do their own personal storytelling with the great media that's going to be available on the ONWARD website, as well as, of course, just spreading news of this resource to all of our partners and using it in our own outreach in city assemblies, in speaking at churches, and engaging donors, and making sure that folks are also equipped to use it in their own churches.
Very exciting. Thank you. Final question we had come in. Do any of the films come with subtitles? I'd be interested in using them during events and dialogues with limited English speakers.
Yeah, so if you, the email that we had up previously, onward@activevoice.net, if you see a film on there that you want subtitles for, you have two ways to let us know. One, you could email us at that email address, or two, when you fill out the form, the request form, there is a box in there that says other, like any details about your event, and in that box you can ask for subtitles, and I will do the best I can to find a lot. I know a lot of the filmmakers are thinking about this, and so it might be available. It will just be dependent on the film. So do let me know if you see one there. I also, Ellen, wanted to clarify, there's one comment here by Susan being confused about whether or not the Onward website is only available through June, and I just want to clarify that no, that's not the case. It is available indefinitely. It's going to be up. It's going to be available for you to use. All that I was saying is, while most of the content is free, and most of it you can just watch right there online, and some of it, a few of them, if you want to do a public screening, something that you're inviting the public to come, there are public licensing restrictions. That usually just means that we need to pay a fee in order to allow that screening license to happen. And Active Voice, my nonprofit, we are footing the bill for those until for as long as we can. And so I was encouraging you to sign up to do some of those screenings in June, so that you don't foot the bill down the road when we're no longer able to cover those. But I just want to underscore there's a lot of content on there, a lot of stories on there that are not restricted in that way, and you can start using right now.
Thanks so much, Sahar, and I moved us over to our thank you slide to make sure that everybody knew how to reach us. Really, telling is an essential part of the work we do at Welcoming America, and it's really a true honor to be involved in this project. So thank you so much to Sahar, and as well as the whole team that's on ONWARD Project. We work with nonprofits and local governments across the country to transform their communities to be more welcoming, and we think this project will help our members that mission immensely. Thank you so much. So as I said, here's how to reach us is up on the slide, onward@activevoice.net. We'll get all the info you need on the project. And hand it over to Sahar to tell us about the movie that is going to be premiering right now. It's 10 minutes long, and we'll be sending you guys the link in the chat box as soon as we're ready. So Sahar, tell us about the online premiere.
Yeah, so this is really exciting. As I mentioned before, this is the premiere of a short film. It's 10 minutes called The N.D. Story. It's from the upcoming documentary Care by Deirdre Fishel and Tony Hariza. It's made exclusive. This short piece is made exclusively for Onward. The URL should be showing up here shortly. Can you? Hopefully, one of you can let the user know where they can find it.
Now.
Okay, and you'll see that you can click on the Watch Full Film, and it'll come right up. So I want to ask you to do two things as soon as we say goodbye. One, go to the URL that they provide and watch it. And watch the film, and then two, think about how you responded to the survey that we just took about who you want to share the site with, and write a tweet or for Twitter or a post on Facebook that links to the site and suggests that sort of pushes people that way. I'd like you to do both of those things, and that would be an immense help. But with that, I hope you really enjoy this beautiful short film, and that you have a lot of productive and valuable onward moving conversations about immigration.
Yes, Sahar, and thank you to all the participants and panelists. Includes the webinar.